Hello, and welcome to Insightful Conversations with your host, Three Principles practitioner, Adey-Jones. Join her each week as she welcomes some of the world's leading Three Principles teachers and practitioners who share how this understanding has dramatically improved the quality of their lives and the lives of those they work with.
Welcome. I'm so thrilled to have as my guest today one of my very first teachers and mentors in the Three Principles, Rohini Ross. Rohini is passionate about helping people wake up to their potential. She is a transformative coach, leadership consultant, and author of the ebook Marriage, available on Amazon.com. Rohini has an international coaching and consulting practice based in Los Angeles, helping individuals, couples, and leaders embrace all of who they are so that they can experience greater levels of well-being, resiliency, and success. She is the founder of the soul-centered series Psychology, Spirituality, and the Teachings of Sydney Banks, and she co-facilitates couples intensives with her husband and business partner, Angus Ross. They work with couples who are struggling and couples who would simply like to deepen the love and intimacy that they already have. So welcome, Rohini.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. As I mentioned, you are one of my very first teachers and mentors in this understanding, and you were so patient with me. I felt like I was in a very outside-in world. It was a tough time in my life, and you were just so loving and so supportive, and just kept with me, thank goodness.
No, my pleasure.
So I want to, how did you first come across the principles? I know how I did, but how did you?
I can tell you how I came across it. So, it's like one of those things where you're not looking for it, but at the right time it shows up. So I was working as a therapist, and I had moved very quickly up into a leadership position in a company. And I was feeling really burnt out. And I was feeling a little in over my head with the leadership role because I was a licensed therapist, and so hadn't had any leadership training. And so I started to look for additional training for myself in that role, but also I started to think about, well, maybe therapy isn't for me because I'm feeling a little burnt out here. And so I took a coaching program, and I got a coaching certificate. And what I came across during that was the teaching of the Three Principles. And I met two of my mentors who you know, George and Linda Pransky. And I knew that there was something in what they were sharing that was very different than how I worked. I could see that there was an ease, there was less effort, there was impact. And I thought, I want to know more about that. And so I went and did an intensive for myself, for my own personal growth and development. And at the time, on the outside, I would have looked very confident, successful, doing a lot of public speaking. But on the inside, I was struggling because I was feeling so insecure. And being sort of pushed more into the limelight with doing talks, I was being confronted with my insecurity way more than I ever had in the past. And it was really making life very miserable. And so that's where I decided to look at that in this intensive. And the way that the understanding of the principles, is so helpful in situations like that is that what it helped me to see is that what I was experiencing was just normal human experience. But what was making it so uncomfortable and painful was all of the add-on thinking that I was doing, thinking it meant something about me, like I must be not good enough because I feel insecure. There must be something wrong with me. There's a problem to be fixed. And really I got to see that, this is just part of human experience. Our natural state is always to come back into balance. Well, if that's true, then there's nothing to fix. And I went from being almost phobic about my insecurity and trying to eradicate it, and seeing like, well, that's me just trying to not be human. And isn't it okay if I'm just human and allow myself to have whatever emotions I have, knowing they're going to pass, and knowing that I'm always going to naturally come back into a place of peace and well-being. And I had thought I was the one that needed to get me there. Like it was going to be through me improving myself that I was going to improve myself. When really it's like, no, all of us have this capacity to come back to peace and well-being inside of ourselves without any effort.
I love that. And that's why I think you had such an impact on me, because here we look at you and you're stunningly beautiful and a former model, an accomplished psychotherapist, and it's like, how could you be insecure? And I think it's when you shared that with me that it helped me, address my own insecurity and just keep going instead of listening to those voices that said you're not good enough and you've got nothing to say and whatever it is that we tell ourselves. So that's amazing. So you learned a lot on a personal level by spending that intensive with the Pranskys. How did it impact your relationship?
Oh, well, that's so amazing, because what happened was I had been living life from a state of anxiety that I wasn't even aware of. Like I would notice when I felt really insecure, but when I was not feeling really insecure, I was still pretty anxious, but I wasn't even thinking that that was the case. And so when I realized that I could just be myself, that there was nothing to fix, that there was no more striving and seeking to be better than, and that just I could just relax and be who I am, my whole level of stress and anxiety just went down. Now, there were ripple effects that came from that. So when my level of stress and anxiety went down, it took much less to kind of knock me out of my center.
Oh, wow.
So one of the big ripple effects was in my relationship with my husband, Angus, who I know you're going to be speaking with. But whereas previously I would be very critical of him if he would get angry. And I'm not even like big anger. I'm just talking like a little snippy. Like it would be something that I would notice and I wouldn't like it and I would probably comment on it. And then if it did escalate and he would get more angry, which, when you're being criticized is not uncommon to happen, then it would be like, oh, look at him, this unenlightened man, can't keep it together. So I was just really arrogant and critical and stern.
I think we came from the same school. I'm embarrassed to admit.
I know, I'm embarrassed to admit. I'm not proud of any of this, but really I was doing the best that I could at the time.
And that's what's so helpful, though, is when when I read your book, your ebook, oh my God, I could see myself on every single page.
Yeah.
So you give us hope.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we all do the best we can with what we understand. Yeah. And so what happened when I really saw, not just on an intellectual level, but on an experiential understanding level, that he cannot be responsible for my feelings. So even if he's behaving badly, even if he is angry, what I'm feeling is always coming from what's happening with my state of mind in the moment. Yeah. Like that was the biggest light bulb moment for me, and realizing that circumstance, people aren't directly responsible for how I'm doing and how I'm feeling inside.
That's so hard, though, for so many people to get, especially if somebody, is a little snappy or something like that. And I know you talk about it in the book that, you had this expectation that he had unconditional love for you, and if he did get irritated or upset, that it meant something, that it really meant something about you. So it goes both ways.
Absolutely. And really, it was just, I would get caught up in all of my insecure thoughts. Like that's all that would happen. So if he would be angry about something, I would take it personally. And it wasn't about him being angry. It was me getting tangled up in all of these misunderstandings inside of myself. So when I came back to the relationship in a really good feeling, just realizing that it's okay to have whatever feelings I have, it also means like, oh, well, maybe it's okay for him to have whatever feelings he has. And so not long after, as in relationships, something happened. He was getting irritated. And rather than the normal dance that we would do, he would get irritated. I would, say something back, and then it would escalate into something. Internally, I felt no upset.
Wow.
I just didn't take it personally because I saw more clearly he's having a hard time. He wouldn't be behaving this way unless he was having a hard time. I know who he is. Yeah. I know what a kind, loving, generous, amazing human being he is. But when he's having a hard time, sometimes he behaves this way. Just like I behave badly sometimes when I'm having a hard time. So rather than just automatically going down this chain reaction, I was able to see him with clearer eyes. And I was able to stay centered and feel my heart. And I really felt compassion for him. I felt like, oh, how can I help? Yeah. And so he was sort of like, what's happening? What's
Really?
happened to my wife? Who is this Stepford woman? But he didn't understand what was going on, but it got his attention. And it was so funny because now we work together, and he's, we do trainings and coach together, and we love working with couples together. But he was not interested in what I was doing, because I had dragged, and he'll tell you the story. He's come to every self-help workshop that I would bring him to, and it's like, and he's like, no, I'm not, whatever you're doing, fine, do it, but I'm not interested. But when he saw that change in me, and when he saw me having more peace and happiness and being less ruffled by him or just life in general, he got interested and like, what's that about? I'd like to have more of that.
Yeah, it really is amazing, because I just love, I mean, it's okay for you to sort of understand your own state of mind and that you can sort of like lose your center a bit. But when somebody else is in that state of mind and losing their center, for you to sort of hold on to that knowing of who they truly are and have compassion for them, that's pretty miraculous.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything that I was doing. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do this technique and then I'm going to be able to see him with the eyes of love. It was like I genuinely just saw it. And that doesn't mean that I always see it every single time, but I have a reference point that is very clear to me about how my internal experience is not defined by anyone else ever. And it's, to me, that was so empowering, because I felt so victimized at various points in my life, not just with Angus, but with, family members. But it's like to see like, oh, that was never them. It was just me innocently getting into my own thinking, telling myself that I wasn't okay, that I wasn't good enough. And to see that I don't have to buy into any of that anymore was just liberating.
I know. It really is. It's incredible. I mean, and these insights keep popping. I remember sharing with you at the weekend that, when you think how much you've made up over the years and how much potential to make up other stuff as we move forward, that we just don't have to live in this limited story of who we are and what our relationship is and anything like that. So how's it impacted your relationship with your children? I know you have 2 teenage daughters.
We do. I do. I have 18-year-old who's at college and a 16-year-old. And I came across this understanding. Angus and I sort of both were learning and deepening in this understanding as the eldest was hitting her adolescence. And so there was a real shift in our parenting that happened, because she started to get a little or a lot rebellious, doing things that we were like, what are you doing? This is not okay. And what we did was we, clamped down, and she was grounded, and then she snuck out when she was grounded so that she'd get grounded again. And it's like, oh my God, is this ever going to end? And the relationship and the rapport was going south, right? And so with understanding that she has wisdom inside of her. Like, we all have this ability to connect with our own wisdom. And children and even teenagers have it too.
Yes, yeah.
And
absolutely.
that it wasn't on us to control her. And what we were doing is we were trying to manage our fear by controlling her.
Yeah, totally.
And she wasn't cooperating. It's like, what are you doing?
You're not meant to solve your fear, Mum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it really was so helpful to do like pretty much a 180.
Yeah.
So we were kind of going down that road for a couple months, and by the holidays, the winter holidays, we went on vacation together, and Angus and I both had this big turnaround that we were going to step back and really communicate and find out like what's going on with her, what does she need, and what can we do to support her and give her freedom. We don't want to have her grounded for the rest of her teenage years.
Exactly.
And through that, she needed some changes. She was doing a program that she needed to get up and be there by 7 a.m. And it's like she couldn't do it. And so we're like, okay, that's off the table then. We'll change your academic program. No problem. Yeah. And there was very little else that we really needed to shift on her end. And it's like, okay, you get to live your life now. It's not like it was a free-for-all, but we just realized that the best we could do for her was for her to learn how to listen inside to what was right, and for her to feel safe enough to come to us when she did get herself into things that she didn't think she could get herself out of. and that we could be there for her in that way. And it literally changed overnight. Like, it was almost like magic. Like, it wasn't like we were, we didn't know that she was going to shift her behavior. We changed our behavior before we knew, but it shifted like that. Like, we didn't have any problems after that with her.
It's miraculous. I think, as you say, as parents, we innocently, I love that word, innocently. It's such a buzzword, but it helps me a lot, because when you really let yourself off the hook for things that you did when you didn't really know any better.
Yeah.
So, but I think as parents, especially I know the way I was parented was the message I got on reflection was, don't trust yourself. I know better than you. And as much as my mum loved me, and I'm sure she would never have intentionally given me that message, but I think I was well into my 50s before, I mean, her voice was in my head. It was always, what should I do that would make her happy? Mm-hmm. No, if somebody said to me, what would make you happy? I had no clue, because I couldn't even hear it anymore.
Yeah.
But to instill that in our children, that they have their own wisdom and their own guidance.
And they're resilient. Like, their mistakes are part of their learning, and they can realize that, oh, I'm okay even when I do make mistakes, and I bounce back. Like, what a gift to see that as a teenager and take that into your adult life, realizing it's okay to get things wrong and the world doesn't end. Like, I didn't learn that for a very long time, and I'm still learning that.
I know, that's so incredible. That really is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's and even today, when I love that resilience, I love seeing in action. It would be hopeless if we went, well, we all have resilience, but we don't get to see it on occasions. And it's by, failing at something, or not, having something not turn out like you wished it had, that you get to see that bounce back.
Absolutely.
That you don't punish yourself. And the other thing I love that you've taught me is very much just to always not be, I think a lot of people think that we're always seeking that we'll always feel in a great mood, and that this is our future now. Now we have this understanding we don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
So speak to that, because you really helped me with that. So let's hear what you have
so
to
in
say.
terms of, I was absolutely in that camp. Like, I thought, there's something to be figured out here so that I never have a sad, depressed, low mood feeling. Like, that could be eradicated. What do I need to do? Tell me how to do it. I'm on for that.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is that I wasn't actually looking for that. What I was really looking for was freedom. And the freedom is in being able to have any human emotional experience and to know that I'm okay. So when we see that our feelings just come and go, they're a reflection of our thoughts in the moment, we don't control our thoughts, we're going to get whatever thoughts we get, and we don't need to control them or manage them or change them or fix them, because they are going to flow through us. And there is a deeper intelligence inside of us that is moving through us each moment. And when we allow that to happen, it makes it so much more graceful. Yeah. And so if I'm not, because I used to spend so much time trying to manage the content of my thinking to manage my feeling experience. And the freedom came from realizing, like, oh, I could be hands off. I don't need to do that. Yeah. And so much more energy and naturally so much more joy in life, because I was spending so much of my mental bandwidth trying to fix myself and trying to control things or manage things, that freeing that up, naturally well-being and joy come in more fully. Yeah. There's more freedom there.
Yeah, after you do this incredible series, which I'm a part of, the Soul-Centered series, and oh my God, I mean, we'll touch on that, but I'm just going to keep telling you how fabulous it's been. But it's, it's so amazing, because each time you have a different teacher sharing their understanding of the principles, I just, like, all month long, I just keep getting these sort of bubbles of insight. So how did you come across that program, or rather come up with that program? Because it's pretty amazing.
No, it was one of those ideas that just came in out of the blue. Yeah. What occurred to me was that I have had the benefit of learning from some of these most incredible teachers with amazing understanding and level of consciousness, and I wanted to share that with other people. I wanted for other people to feel the benefit that I had felt from learning from them.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a good idea to do that as a group, because one-on-one would take a very long time.
Yeah, really.
So because I just think that this is so life-changing, what we're talking about, the level of freedom I experience in my life now, the level of peace, and still having a human experience, not always feeling good, but even when I'm not feeling good, having a more graceful time with that. And so it doesn't really take a toll on my life in the way that it used to. So I just think as many people that can have more of that in their life, the better, and to realize that it's not going to come from having to work harder and do more and learn something that takes effort. It's actually a remembering of who you really are and a waking up to the truth that is your true nature.
Yeah. It really is. There's words that keep popping out for me: freedom, effortlessness. I mean, I've never been so happy in my life. I mean, I have this wonderful metaphor that just popped into my head last week. But it really was. I used to see either my insecurities or my thinking or my worry or whatever it was as this massive, great, big black bolt, giant. You know, I was impenetrable. It was insurmountable. I just couldn't get over or around it or through it. And now, if I wake up and I'm in a low mood, it's just like a giant, great big tumbleweed that's very sort of loosely held together. The light comes through it. I can see beyond this, sort of dry, brittle thoughts that are coming in. And I don't have to do anything with the tumbleweed. It's naturally meant to just sort of like float on by. And that's how I feel in life now. Nothing. If I wake up and things seem a little heavy right now, I don't do anything about it. I just am aware of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And it passes. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I also want to talk about, you do these incredible vlogs with Angus. They absolutely light up my life. They are so funny and so real and so raw. And the two of you together are just an amazing dynamic team. So I know you do those, and people can find those on your website. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Or on Facebook too?
Yeah, they're on my website. They're on YouTube. They're on Facebook. They're everywhere.
Yeah, I know. I noticed. I was refreshing myself this week, and I just started like listening to tons of them. They're everything from what is it? Angus playing Scrabble while the dog does his business. That was so great. Yeah. And I also know that you do a lot of work with Barbara Patterson, and I was a participant in, I think it was your mastermind a couple of years ago, and that was just an incredible process. So have you got anything more like that that's coming up?
Well, Angus and I, we love doing couples intensive, so that's one of our favorite things to do, where we get to work with a couple over 4 days and really help them see something fresh and new. And they may just be wanting to, sort of deepen the love that's there. We, just last week we had a couple where the husband served the wife with divorce papers, and they came to us, and it's like they're good to go. Yeah. So it's like it's so rewarding to see that kind of transformation that can happen in such a powerful way in such a short amount of time. And for Angus and I to both experience that in our relationship, because we were, we've been there. Yeah. I don't think there's much in our relationship that we haven't been, I've seen that, done that. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it's just being able to have so much compassion for the struggle that can be. And we're not taught about how to be in relationships. Like this understanding that you're sharing is so wonderful, that you're bringing all these different people talking about it into the world, because most people don't understand that their experience comes from inside of them. And
separate realities. Yeah. I mean, if so many people understood that separate realities, how many relationships could be saved? Yeah. It's absolutely amazing to me. Yeah. Yeah, so that's wonderful. I'm excited by that. So people come and stay with you for 4 days, or not stay with you, but
they stay,
locally.
Yeah, they stay in retreat in Topanga, and it's we ask them to kind of leave their life behind so that they can get quiet and get connected with each other. And then Angus works with one of them, I work with the other, so that they can really have that one-on-one support to have an internal shift, because it's always going to be that personal shift that makes a difference in the relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I love about this understanding is some of the teachers that the first generation, as we call them, they've got some of the healthiest, most loving, beautiful marriages I have ever seen, and they've been together 40, odd years, most of them.
Absolutely.
So, it's a testament, and it really is. It's not about any tricks or tools or things to apply. It's just once you get the understanding, it's like your vision changes, how you see the other person.
Absolutely. And it does keep getting better. Like Angus and I will be married 25 years this summer, and it keeps getting better.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting more fun, more alive, stays fresh. And it's because we come to it without the history. We can be with, who am I with today?
Yeah.
Who am I today?
Yes.
We see that. And then we can weather the bumps along the way so much more easily because I understand, if he's not having a good day, that's all that it is. It doesn't need to go beyond that. If I'm not having a good day and not behaving my best, it's like the bounce back from that is minutes, where it used to be days or weeks.
Yeah, or separation.
Yes.
Yeah, I know in my own relationship too. I mean, I still can, you've been in it a lot longer than me, but I still catch myself in sort of getting into that sort of, he's pissed me off or whatever, and then I just wake up and go, oh, no, nobody can do that to me. I can only have thinking around that's going to create these feelings. And then all of a sudden I just see this absolutely beautiful, loving man in front of me that I just instantly can just switch like that.
And I think we all have those experiences where we love our partner, we just are, totally in love with them, and then we get mad at them. We're like, oh, I can't stand you, and then we're in love with them again. We can all relate to that.
Exactly.
They look amazing, then all of a sudden they look terrible, and how we switch that way, understanding how that works, means that we don't take it so seriously when they look terrible, and we remember actually that's who they really are.
As a teenager, I actually remember thinking to myself, God, I can talk myself in love and out of love with anybody. It was sort of shocking. I was like, ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But that's really what it is.
Absolutely.
We do. We
that's
talk
a very
ourselves.
wise teenager.
Yeah, really. Somehow I forgot about that. There was a few years in between there where I was, not so healthy. But anyway, I cannot thank you enough. It's been so wonderful having you here. I can't believe it went by so fast.
Flew by.
No, flew by. But just mention any up-and-coming events that you might be doing. I hope you will do the Soul Center series again. That was
yes. The Soul Centered series will be offered starting again in the fall. We're finalizing those details. Barbara Patterson and I, who you mentioned, we have something called the Engaged Space. That's a 30-day experiment of getting engaged in your life in a way that is not a boot camp, but is really listening to your inspiration. And that's a really fun project that we do.
That's why I'm here.
Oh, the Engaged Space?
Yes, the Engaged Space last year.
That's amazing.
I was having fun, and all of a sudden this little sort of insight popped up, and I was like, what? Really?
Love it.
This is where I am.
Yeah.
So that's about, you covered that. And please watch the vlogs on Facebook, on Rohini Ross's Facebook page. They're hysterical. You'll meet Angus soon and understand why they're so much fun.
The other part of the duo, that's right.
Yeah, the other part. So anyway, thank you so much, and can't wait to continue to do work with you and have you in my life and be a participant in so many things that you've got up and coming.
Well, thank you, Del. So grateful for you.
Oh, you too. Thanks. You. Bye-bye.
Bye.